welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pone ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message at the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi Pone Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try and force in some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Hey guys, have you guys ever looked at your task manager when you're running OBS and Discord? I would have to really ask this to Moon. Have you ever ran OBS and Discord and looked at your task manager at the same time?
I mean, probably, but I'm not exactly sure what you're getting at.
Dude, fucking Discord has some crazy read-write shit going on, man. If you're like playing, videos, or you really are involved with it, Discord, it pounds the shit out of your disk. I don't know if you ever noticed that. I don't think you have anything crazy going on for your Discord though, do you?
No, yeah, not particularly. I don't think so. Just a stream chat.
Yeah. Anyway, I know that's a really odd intro here, but I had up Task Manager because every time I do, for those of you who don't know, I stream this live on Twitch every Monday and Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and I have been considering. Next time I just need to kick my computer on and overclock it to see if it helps. But every time I start, I get some stuttering with some of the videos and shit I'm playing, and I'm wondering if it's because my SSD isn't fast enough. But then again, I'm like, I can go to an M.dot drive. I don't really think that's much faster than your standard SSD. I don't know. It's just like. There's some shit going on, dude. I was bitching about Discord previous to this. Anyway. Hi guys, I'm Adam, Maxwell, and I'm joined by Vrail and Moon.
What's up, boys?
And we're gonna talk about some League of Legends this evening, as we always do. But before we get into that, guys, don't forget that I am out there looking for new hosts or hosts to add to the network. Plat 5 above, send me a 5-minute MP3 about what you do as your specific role. You can find all the knowledge and all the information over at reddit.com/r/T-Force Network. I'm looking for a co-host, somebody that's available every Monday and Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time as we go live and record. We don't necessarily have to go live, but we will record on those days. As well as somebody who's really driven and really wants to help come up with some topics and whatnot we're talking about. I was trying to come up with topics today, and after 545 episodes, I finally hit a wall where I can't think of a fucking topic to talk about. I feel like every time I think of something, I'm just pounding the same topics in your guys' head week to week. And at a point, you're not going to want to listen to that, right? So, yeah, if you're out there and you want a podcast, send us in. You can join Frail, Moon, and whatnot. And we can get some people in the show. I should probably tweet this out, too, so more people want to listen to the live show. But I've got some topics here. This podcast may only go about 45 minutes, and then we'll push another one out here Wednesday. This is a patch week, so Wednesday will be a patch. I do think we're going to start going back and trying as well to look at some of the PvE stuff and talk about upcoming changes in the PvE, because I believe that the question on everyone's mind right now is, when is this bot lane meta bullshit fest going to end? And I've seen a lot of people ask, is it time? Do the bounty changes and the game slowing down change that for 8.13? And I think the answer is probably a resounding no, right?
I haven't looked ahead, but I would imagine no. I haven't heard of anything that's super crazy that's coming.
They're they're tweaking the ADC items a tiny bit to just lower the gold cost. And I think they're buffing Stormrazor a little bit, but shouldn't be any drastic changes coming out of 8.13.
Oh shit! I need to send this over to Punch. Actually, Camille's getting a nerf on 8.13.
Wow, unprecedented.
Actually, they are targeting the Yi-Taric synergy as well. That's pretty interesting.
I finally played against that with players that weren't terrible, and that was real stupid. The Taric was 1-9, and the Yi just hard carried because once he has Taric ult, if the Taric ult's early, then it's impossible to do anything.
I played against it in a solo queue game. It was the first time I'd actually seen the strategy, and the guys were obviously duo queue, and it was just really silly. He would clear the jungle, show up mid lane, he would just take all of his mid lane Taric CS, go back to his jungle. The dude didn't gank at all. We didn't see him for 15 minutes. And then he has 200 farm while all the other solo lanes have like, 120. Bot lane's got like 100 or whatever. CS is like, sports got 20 or whatever. So like, yeah, he's like up 100 farm on everybody at like 15 minutes.
That's
And
crazy.
then at that point, it was just Taric ult. You can't do anything. See ya. I mean, I like E, I like Taric, but that's broken.
So I was playing mid lane versus it, and I think at 15 minutes, I think I was 5-3. I had like 130 CS or something like that, and I had taken their turret, but it like the mid lane turret, but it didn't even matter because Yi had like 120 CS and he had killed me the 3 times, and then he just like he was 2 levels up, like crazy stuff, and then all he needed was Tark's ult. It didn't matter how behind it was. He just needed the utility of Tark's kit, not Tark being fed at all, and then he just like 1v9'd after that. It was real frustrating to play against.
Frail, did your headset microphone get kicked off for like a laptop microphone or something?
No, it shouldn't have.
Or your webcam microphone, maybe? Check your Discord.
How do I check that?
You open your Discord, you go to the settings on the right-hand corner, and then you click your video and voice and see what headset it's put on. Sorry to the guys, making sure, because he sounds like he's talking in a room.
Just tinning it up.
Yeah.
Tinning it up just a little
I'm
bit.
going back to the old ways of doing things.
Yeah, you sound
Voice
like Beaver
video.
when he first joined the podcast. Well, while he figures that out, I haven't had a chance to play against it, and I feel like every time I play this game, people are still... I've been playing in a lot of bronze and silver games recently, because all the guys... It sounds like it's all right. I'm not sure what's going on. But a lot of the guys I played with are bronze silver, so I get knocked down to a lot that elo quite a bit. And everyone down there is still playing your normal ADC and support. And it's kind of funny to watch everybody kind of scramble. I played Garen Pike last night, and I had no reason to be winning that game, but I had the best Pike ever, who was, just landing every hook on Lux that he could land. And, of course, Lux is blowing her Q on Pike instead of Garen. But I feel for you, by the way, Marine, when it gets later in that game and you're not winning, and you're playing into Ashe, Lux, and who else was there in that game? I think Diana. Just all of the fucking slows and moves and anything that couldn't get to anybody.
Yeah, you feel real useless even if you got ahead earlier, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we were going to lose that game regardless, just because of...
You said champ select,
champ
right?
Select. We lost the champ select. I knew we lost the champ select, so I'm like, I'm just going to have fun with this and camp bushes. But yeah, they got to a point where you just can't move. So anybody who doesn't have a leap, dash, or move, it's kind of like playing Darius as well. If you just can't get in, you're not staying in. If you can't kill somebody in like a rotation, you're dead.
On that topic, I actually think Garen is better than Darius, because his combo is dealt more quickly. But
You can just one-hit people.
yeah,
Like, you can kill them in the duration of the silence.
Just because his ult's not reliant on like a stacking mechanism, like you can go in, and if they're low after Q, like you can go ahead and ult. You know what I mean?
Have you looked at Plat Plus patch 8.12 only, the stats on Lawlytics? Garen's at a 52% win rate right now.
I've seen that, but it's hard to trust those sites because I looked at OPGG too. Like LOL Analytic has Diamond Plus, Garen, NA at 50%, but OPGG has them at 45. So like I don't know who to trust with those websites, and Riot doesn't put out official stats. So I kind of take everything with a grain of salt. I think Garen is performing decently in most elos. I think he's still like not a great pick in high elo, but he's probably pretty strong in silver and gold. But I don't think he deserves nerfs or anything.
No, of course not. I just bring that up, of course, because you are the Garen master here. But there's a lot of champions like that right now where people could be abusing to get elo. A good discussion would really be like this year. The meta has shifted so much from the stagnant farm. Oh, sorry. The meta has shifted from like the stagnant farm for late game and have your AD carry you to everybody needs to be roaming it almost all the time. So champions that can get a lead in lane early, your Darius, your Garen, your Mundo can actually do it pretty well. Quinn, Talon, Wukong, etc. All those top lane champions, Camille, anybody in top lane that can get an edge early, push the lane, and roam really easily are the ones that are like they seem to be thriving in this meta really well, and that goes for a lot of the other lanes too.
Yeah, I think that's true.
I think that's because like the scaling build of tier with mid laners got nerfed pretty hard, and mana got nerfed pretty hard over the last like couple patches, and also just the expensive ADC items. Now it's like everything is win lane and then try and win the game. Not that it's always hand and foot with those two things, but it does seem to be very impactful that way.
Well, it's something I want to talk about because we have over the last couple of weeks talked about this new meta, the anything goes meta is how I like to refer to it as. Because at this point, you can pretty much pick anything and no one's gonna bitch at you. But you know, there comes a lot of times in bottom lane where you're playing J4 Leona or Garen Pike, whatever it may be, and you get a lead, but you don't do anything with it, right? Like you just keep killing the same people down there in the bottom lane. But really, should we be calling for switches with the top lanes and moving that fed bottom lane top into the 2v1 and solo queue? Should we be moving the mid laner around? Really, should we be roaming a lot more than we are instead of trying to stay to the stagnant solo queue idea that we have?
I think it depends on what kind of character you have in which role. Like ideally, if your bot lane wins bot lane, they could swap with top. But if your top lane is not a champion who can really deal with being in a solo long, like extra long lane by themselves, then it can make it harder to push the advantage bottom and top, and it might just be better to keep your bot lane bottom. But ideally, I feel like in an ideal world, you do want to swap your top and bot laner just so you can get the extra pressure top, get turrets, and then eventually swap mid and get mid turret, and then kind of take over the map from there.
I feel like this meta is like a power in numbers kind of thing. And I feel like the reason why roaming is so strong is because it almost seems like, I don't want to say people's impact is on an even playing field, because that's definitely not true, but it just seems like, if you're up a player right now, you're going to win a fight on relatively even footing. So people are taking advantage of that, and these like weird, unusual snowball, or that's not snowball, these weird, unusual comps that people are picking just leaves a lot of uncertainty. And people play cautious and then go in at like the perfect moment, only when they've kind of figured everything out in advance. And because these picks are so unusual, people don't exactly know what every pair of champions is necessarily capable of. And when you throw a roam in, especially when you have unusual mid lanes right now too, like the Taric strategies, stuff like that, you're getting people who have to make decisions, who don't have the answer to all the situations, and that's going to lead to basically just more deaths, more action. People are taking more risks, so the game is more exciting, and you know what I mean? Faster paced.
Yeah, I'm following you. That's why my question when I ask it is bottom lane gets ahead a lot of times. If you're playing traditional, on one side and you're playing non-traditional on the other, I think you guys understand what I mean when I say it that way, right? Like I don't have to explain it anymore. I'm gonna try to. I bring that up because I'm gonna try to probably use that term from now on. If I'm playing non-traditional in the bottom lane and I'm up 2 or 3 or 4 kills and we're only less than 10 minutes into the game, should we be using that strength in numbers to leave bot lane alone at that point for a little bit, to move into other lanes to try to help them out? Should we be roaming really, really hard? Because like the non-traditional lane isn't going to take the tower as easily as the traditional one, just due to the fact that you're almost primarily melee at the entire time. And I've been really trying to think about it, because every time I get up 3 or 4 kills, that I feel great and I can roam and I can take dragons, but it never feels like I get the extra help that is needed to take the tower, because people just expect you to be able to take it when you're 3 and 4 kills up as a melee character. And I don't know if that's from a lack of experience from the other people I'm playing with, or if I'm not doing something right in the bottom lane when it comes to using the power correctly.
Just take Demolish, I feel like, and that'll help you a lot. I think the new buff Demolish can be super, super effective. I mean, I haven't really run into that problem. I feel like I could get where if you're playing a melee into range, where it can be a lot easier to just farm from distance under turret, especially. And then I can see how it could be difficult to press your lead. I don't know if the solution to that is necessarily swapping around where your characters are. That might just be a weakness of picking a melee into a range, like double range matchup. I don't know if that can, like, if you're swapping and then you're taking your double melee top against a single melee, I guess you could maybe get top turret a little easier. But I don't know if that's really a solution. I think that's just a downside of picking that kind of comp.
Sure. I'm just trying to find that tried and true strategy that's going to work more often than not. Because, of course, taking a non-traditional bot lane, I am able to get kills, or I should be able to at least walk out a lane at some point with one of them putting me ahead. But it doesn't mean I'm taking the tower, and that doesn't mean that my power is being used properly. So really pushing the lane or letting me get pushed in and having other people gank with me to take the tower, like Mood said, power in numbers, 4-man bottom lane ganks all in. Now we take the tower, and now the roaming and the crazy fuckfest can start at that point, because now the non-traditional lane can go camp bushes or help out mid, or whatever it may need to be. I just kind of feel like bottom lane is still that fiesta spot that more people need to pay attention to, but they don't, because more times than not the non-traditional lane gets ahead. And people look, okay, 2 kills, I don't need to go help these people anymore,
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if there's a perfect solution to the question.
No, there's never a perfect solution. It's kind of like I brought up Zillion Vhagar earlier, and Dom said, why not Fiddlesticks? And I said, well, why not Zillion?
Well, that's because Dom and I had talked about doing Fiddlesticks Vhagar earlier in the week. And we were trying to find a time to test it out. But I can attest to Zillion Vhagar being super, super good. I played it with a listener, actually. I think it's IGN's Bird, and we just were running down people, because once Vhagar has that extra mobility to get the cage around people, and if you take Celerity, and I was taking Predator, it just adds a ton of damage to his already super heavy damage intensive kit, and you can just like run people down, put a cage on them. Maybe you blow their flash the second time, but those 2 things are on pretty short cooldown, so you can just do it again. And I also think Vhagar's pretty good into the whole bruiser comp, because most of those bruisers either have to walk at you or they have a dash. There's not a lot of blinks, and you just put the cage around yourself and you can just walk out, and you just play safe until your cage is back up. So he has a lot of safety in that, and like in his E, that a lot of other either mages or ADCs can't really provide themselves. So I think he's actually a pretty good pick bot, and I would highly recommend Zillion Vhagar. It's incredibly fun.
I really like the Zillion idea. I think like the argument, in my opinion, gets shattered based on the fact that Zillion can speed you up. Just that alone, I think, allows you to do what that brings far more utility than what Fiddlesticks brings. Point and click fear is nice and all, but
well, the thing is with Fiddlesticks, you're playing more to try and win lane. Like if you're playing Zillion, I feel like you're trying to scale.
Yep.
Excuse me, sorry, and then just run people down. But I haven't actually tested it out yet. But our thinking was if you have Fiddlesticks, then whenever he fears, you can either drop your W on him for free or Q them. That's giving Vhagar the free AP and free hits and free damage. And then at 6, we were pretty sure that the combination of Fiddlesticks and Vhagar's level 6, not Fiddle's ult, just his fear, Q, drain.
Sure.
We were pretty confident we'd be able to one-hit pretty much anyone.
Yeah, you would.
We haven't actually tested it out, but that's our thinking, and that's why we think it could be really good for snowballing. But we haven't actually tested it out yet, so this is all kind of speculation. But I think it can still be a pretty solid combo.
I mean, anybody who's got an execute, right? That's why I said like Garen Pike. At 6, Garen's got the execute. You're going to win that trade. If a Q is landed, that trade is won. For the most part. So
that's the difficult thing about the whole bruiser thing is it's like the whole problem with bot lanes where there was a bunch of split focus, and like your support would be hitting one person, your ADC would be hitting. I feel like that is totally gone with the whole bruiser thing. Everyone is so much better at just picking the same target and obliterating that person, and it's normally the squishy support, because the combination of bruiser damage and a tank support, you can just like kill people so easily if you have your focus on the same person.
Melee players speak the same language. You know what I mean? Like they both know like which person they can actually get to. That's what I'm betting on. So they're more in tune with each other.
If I hadn't just played a game last night where I was Pike and I had a Jinx and I would engage on the support or AD carry and the Jinx would attack the opposite person, I would be disagreeing with you right now. But that Jinx every time attacked the target that I did not engage on, and I'm like, but why?
I'm telling you, once people start playing the ADCs, they start losing brain cells. They just want to click on things. They can't tell.
Oh, I'm so happy though that ADCs are out of here. I love playing bruisers. I always have. So I wonder if I could play Nocturne. Can I do like Nocturne Pike or Nocturne Leona or something?
Nocturne Fiddle, the Fear brothers, just
Dude,
Fiddle Fears. Then you have Nocturne Sphere stacking up.
I think
Person CC'd for 4 seconds.
To be fair, I think playing Fiddle's cheating when it comes to any of these because point and click Fear is OP.
Yeah, he's probably, if not the strongest, one of the strongest supports right now.
Nocturne is quite good actually right now. Celerity. So you know how they got changed to where it gives more AD when you have move speed.
Yeah.
So Nocturne gets move speed and AD on his Q buff, and so he doubles down on the Celerity rune if he has that, and he gets like 100 attack damage basically off of max rank Q between Celerity and the actual AD that the Q gives itself.
Hell yeah.
The
Pretty
Celerity damage buff is pretty big. I don't know if y'all have noticed, but if you're playing an AP character running out of base, you have 90 AP. And it used to be so much lower. Like, you don't keep that, but just the buff and damage that you get based off of move speed is kind of shown to you right there when you're just running out of base because you have all that extra move speed. It just gives you a huge chunk just for running out. But I think Celerity is pretty strong, especially if you're doing Zillion with anyone because he gives you all that free MS.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of Celerity water walking picks recently out of supports.
Well, that backs up your roaming
It
theory.
does. It does.
You know what's interesting though is despite all the ADCs overall feeling not very good, Lucian seems like one of the strongest ADCs like in his current state that we've ever seen. I feel like current Lucian is like one of the strongest iterations of an ADC we've ever seen be allowed to stay as good as he is this long. And I think it's only because Riot's like, well, we have like 2 guys that are good in that role right now, so we can't really remove them. But it's, you know what I mean?
Kai'Sa's there too.
That's what I'm saying too, Lucian and Kai'Sa.
Yeah.
I think Lucian's kind of a special case just because he can kite bruisers so easily in comparison to like other ADCs, especially once he gets a little CDR and he has Bork for the Bork slow. I feel like he is really good at dancing around those people that just have to run at you. So I think his kit is kind of inherently tuned to deal with something like this, in my own opinion. But I mean, other ADCs, it's just kind of you have either one ability to get away or like one thing to knock them away. But Lucian just has his resetting dash. That's really nice.
I mean, I agree with you. His kit probably is adept for the opponents he's facing right now. But I also think that the current Essence Reaver has like blown that into a proportion that the current like bruiser roster, like it's unless you're like Camille or somebody who's like super fucking broken, you just like don't have an answer for it. Like when I'm Garen, literally impossible for me to ever touch a Lucian by myself.
Well, yeah, because if you think of his build path, it's all for kiting. Because I think he's going Bork first into Black Cleaver, so then you have the Phage passive. You do get that on range champs. Is it like half though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have the Phage passive, and then what? You think you get Essence Reaver after that. So then you have like 40% CDR on his dash, and then you get the CDR after you ult. So he's like has the Phage passive, the Bork slow, and the CDR on his dash. So he's like he's all over the fights, just moving around, impossible to get on top of.
And it's not like his damage is low though either. His damage is actually crazy. So like he's really mobile and he's got lots of damage, and I just think, you know, maybe he's fit for the meta, but I think he's probably still too strong in his niche. But like I said, there's only like 2 ADCs right now that are like good at a high level, so it's not like you can just take them out of the game at the moment. So they really need to address the issue to a certain extent. They need to allow people to have more success so that they can address these unhealthy ones, and the people who do want to play that role should be, you know, maybe a little more flexibility. I like that bot lane's opened up, and it's so weird and wacky, but I feel bad for people who just can't play their character.
I understand Lucian being powerful because of ER. ER is really inflating a lot of that, and so is the new Blade of the Ruin King, right? Because I believe, if I remember correctly, Blade of the Ruin King got a little cheaper as well coming into this.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Into this change. So of course, when Blade of the Ruin King is good, Lucian is good. That's really what it comes down to, and ER just happened to help along with that. So Lucian, Kai'Sa being the outliers, and of course there's Misfortune and Draven, and we've talked about some of these other ones that are doing well, but they're kind of like in their own little niche pocket because not many people are really playing those champions. We're seeing the higher win rate with higher play rate, which means the champion might be a little overtuned, leading toward Lucian Kai'Sa. But I'm not sure Riot, like you said, I'm not sure Riot's going to touch those champions. It's too much to say, all right, well, these champions are performing higher than what we believe they should be, but due to the state of the game, we need to bring them down. I believe, honestly, the only way to bring this game back to where it needs to be is to give some love back to like the base armor. It's really to give love back to the base stats of all the 80 carries, and like if they reverted everything, obviously we go back to where we were, because suddenly Caitlyn becomes really good and Cog and everybody becomes really good again, and the supports have to play around that. But in is it 8-3 or no? It's 8-4, right? 8-1-4 that they're gonna start looking at mages again and start giving some love back to the mana regen on mages.
I'm not sure. I know I read something about a possible Vel'Koz buff. I don't know if it was mana related or not.
It's mana related. It's all that relation to allowing them to stay in lane a little bit longer than they do right now. But if we start seeing those kind of changes, allowing the mid lanes to roam more, I still don't think that fixes anything. Like you're gonna have to give crit ADC some kind of love early to allow them to be able to want to be in the game. Hell, if I play an Aram, normally a crit ADC might do fairly well, and in 10 minutes in, now they're fucking worthless. You just completely re-roll those champions just the same way as you do on Summoner's Rift. You just don't take them because they're worthless until 45 minutes into the game. And so some love needs to be given back to them.
I agree.
I'm just kind of obviously I'm just saying things that everyone's like, yeah, I agree with. But really, what I'm trying to counter this with is, do we need the game to be to that point? Is it okay where we're at, where the game is do whatever the fuck you want? After 8 years, we're back to do whatever the fuck you want, and LCS is fun to watch. It's fun to play the game. Is this a healthy state for the game?
I mean, I enjoy it, so I don't know, healthy is the correct word, because I'm having fun playing in it. I don't know, I can't really speak for everyone. I don't know if they have to try and find some way where they can, because I know Riot wants to keep a variety of champions viable bot lane, so I don't know how they're going to change it where they can have ADCs be viable and all these bruisers that they kind of like having down there be viable. I don't know what the solution is there. Maybe like you might have to just very slowly start changing. Maybe it is the base stats. Maybe it's the cost of the items or something along those lines. But I think that they want to try and find a world where they can have both, like basically have both of those things available to the players, which I'm not sure if you could ever find that harmony. But I mean, I'm cool with how the game is right now. I really enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun having all the variety.
I think there are two approaches to it. First approach, they just, listen to people's complaints and they just nerf or buff things based on what people want, and we just end up back where we were patches ago, inevitably. Or people will, they could be, stern and just wait it out and see what happens. And I think if they did that, I think people would start looking at bot lane as like this new, like super must be coordinated. Like it's like the counter v counter lane. Like it's the composition lane. Like you have to coordinate your picks now with your support and whoever is going to be the other player. If you want to run an ADC, you got to be upfront about it, and you got to like figure out what support is actually going to make sense to run with that character. Because I think there are supports who can stall, like a bruiser lane. You know what I mean? Like there have been supports who are, traditionally good at that. But if you're going to pick like an ADC who's weak until 15 minutes, and then you don't have like one of those support types, like how are you going to even have a chance? Or I don't know. I just feel like maybe like we have to take communication and teamwork in the only duo lane in the game to like a higher standard if the role is going to be more flexible. You know what I mean? And people are going to have more game knowledge, more matchup knowledge, which is going to take time for people to learn to deal with these different new meta bot lane combos.
And that's where we're at. We are at that. We are more than less at that point. Like you said, you have to know a lot of the anything fucking goes shit that's going on right now is that people don't understand what these two champions are capable of. What is Pike Garen capable of? What is Zillion Vhagar capable of, right? People bitch, oh, I cannot play into Brand. I see Brand fiddle in all my games. But once you dissect Brand and you have an understanding of his WQ and how it works, you're now able to counter that champion fairly easily, assuming he's not outrageously overpowered. And that's what a lot of this Wild Wild West syndrome comes into play. Now, we are into the 8th season of this game, so anybody listening to this podcast going, why can't I climb? Why can't I climb? You really have to spend some time learning what every single champion does, what are all the power spikes of this champion, what this champion can do with certain items and certain gold and all that kind of stuff, because at a point, we're finally at the point where the entire player base has more and more knowledge, and you can only counter that by, just being that 1% higher than they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, the bottom level of knowledge is 4 rungs of the ladder where it was 3 seasons ago.
And in any competitive environment, it's always easier to catch up than it is to stay on top. So, like, if if it's really important to you, you can definitely make up that difference. But it requires a certain amount of dedication and putting up with frustration and losing from trying to learn how to play against stuff that you haven't seen before.
Yeah. And I think it could continue to evolve. Like, as they nerf things that are super oppressive right now, whether that's like Aurelia bot or Yasuo or whatever, I think there's the potential where things just keep popping up that is like the new Aurelia bot, because there's everything, because there's not like this prejudice against picking things bot lane anymore. So as that kind of evolves and more things are tested out, as maybe things get banned or whatever, I think there's the potential that there's just gonna be a lot more really like strange and innovative things that happen bot lane. I don't know if necessarily that'll steer us back to ADCs, but there's so many more combinations that aren't going to be like scrutinized if you pick it in champ select, that I really think we could just be like veering off into even more crazy stuff happening. And I think right now is probably the best time ever to if you're playing bot lane, to be duoing with someone, because if you find a strategy that works and you two are able to like hone what your power spikes is, when you can kill in, I think that's like really good. A really strong way to climb right now is if you can find someone to duo bot with and just abuse some combination that you have discovered, whether that's what's meta or really common, and you guys just figure out how to really get in sync and abuse that, or you can maybe find something that is your own new innovative thing that it's just because you have the practice on it and everyone's not used to playing against this stuff, you'll just be able to catch people off guard.
Do it Vhagar Zillion. Let's see it. More of you on you out there. Vhagar Zillion. It's great. Bring back a picture of a goose, J4 Leona. I'm telling you. Though my problem with J4 down in the bottom lane now is, or a lot of the problems I have with a lot of these bruisers is, unless you're like really ahead, you do feel the effects of being lower level than anybody else in the game, more so than like an AD carry did previously, if that makes sense. Like being not even a level 9 Garen when everybody else is like level 11, it hurts.
Well, I feel like the way to remedy that is you just have your support start to roam, and then you can eventually send a side lane and catch up on the levels. I think it's a temporary setback. Once you are like out of the early laning phase, your support has a lot of freedom and autonomy to go and do whatever they want, so you can catch up in levels that way.
And they should be, right?
I'm curious. I agree.
I kind of want to talk to some other support mains, because I'm curious if they're finding it harder to complete their quest now as well, with all of the kills that are always going on. You're not spending so much time in lane poking and whatnot. I'm curious if the overall support item completion time has been increased a bit because of this new meta.
I would imagine Spell Thieves might have. I don't think that the Targon one would have increased at all, because you could just like you can stack those up and then hit minions and get rid of them real quickly. But I would imagine maybe Spell Thieves has, depending on what you're playing. Which
none of those champions down there are probably doing or taking Spell Thieves, right?
I think Bard and Fiddlesticks. I think Bard is actually pretty common right now and has a pretty solid win rate, just because he roams really well, and he has, with his ultimate and his portal, he has ways to get bruisers into the places they need to go. So he has a lot of utility in his kit that can be utilized by by bruisers.
Utility can be utilized. Haha. Well, we were talking about bottom lane a little bit. I want to touch on the teleport bottom lane meta that we see a lot. A lot of you have probably been watching LCS or may see people take it. I know Vrail has experience running teleport out of the bottom lane, but I believe at this point, if you feel that you don't need heal anymore, or you don't feel like your champion needs to take ignite for one reason or another, teleport is probably the summoner you should be looking at right now.
Well, if you're playing a bruiser, that it kind of opens you up to be able to split push later in the game. And then if you're playing ADC, like the times I've taken a bot, I was playing Vygar and I took Predator. And my goal was, because as Vygar, you don't really want to fight people early. You just want to kind of scale as best as you can until you can do a ton of damage later on. So I would TP back if I was like even like a little bit low and I knew that I had a strong all in, and just so I could always be at full HP. And then my first few times I would use Predator, I would just use it to back and then run back to lane quickly. Because Vygar doesn't need to, if Vygar's going even in a lane, kind of winning it. So it just like allows your character to have an extra level of safety. Because heal, it kind of does the same thing. But if you heal, you don't have a way to get back in the lane. And you might have to back, and then you're just missing a bunch of CS. And I feel like teleport, if you use it right, is safer than heal.
Mm-hmm.
You can utilize it in the correct way, if that makes sense.
Well, you're not getting those big skirmishes, or you're not getting little skirmishes anymore that can turn into full-on fights. It's either you're in or you're not.
But it kind of remedies a situation where you're like, I have like a quarter HP, but I really want to try and stay for this massive wave that's going to crash. And even if you have heal, you're going to die. But if you have TP, you can just back and then TP back, be full HP. They're not going to dive you.
Right.
So that's how it's safer.
Safer, and you can pick up some items to help you out, because as we know, mages do need some of that extra gold to be able to turn that into anything.
Yeah. You just have to be, it's preemptively safe rather than reactively.
Fucking moon yawned, man, and now, sorry.
Dude, I didn't even yawn into the mic. It was just, you saw the camera, and that was it. Why is that stuff so addictive, man? You just see footage of it.
Fuck, dude. I just saw him. He just
Don't
leans
make
back
me
and
yawn
he
now.
yawns, and
Come
I'm
on.
like, oh shit, man. I'm tired too.
I'm fighting it.
Fight it hard. Don't yawn. Don't do it.
It's the Sleep Force podcast.
Sleep Force podcast. Do we want to talk a little bit? Well, I was going to talk about Mundo and Aatrox, but I'm not really sure if that's like.
I want to talk about that shit. We should talk. We should talk about the one. Dude, I had a super badass response prep for this. So.
In bronze, what's more important, getting vision or denying vision?
Yeah, we should talk about that.
All right, we're talking about it. What's more important in bronze, getting vision or denying vision?
I personally think it's a trick question, because every time I would think of a reason why like getting vision is important, that's a reason to need to be able to deny it. So like every pro and con to each side of that argument is also the reverse for the opposing argument. So realistically, like the vision game, like the whole like it needs to be complete. Like your vision game needs to be complete across the board. Like you have to look at it as a whole. You can't look at it as just, well, I'm good at getting vision or I'm good at denying vision, because by truly being good at one, you're keeping like, okay, so if you're really good at getting vision, that means you're also good at preventing the enemy from denying your vision.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if you're good at denying, yeah, exactly. So I think it's a trick question, and I think that you have to look at it as a big picture mechanic, because it's macro. It's not really micro.
I think it's important to get vision on major objectives, and it's important to deny vision on like gank paths, I guess. But I agree, it's kind of a trick question. You need to. It's not that hard to do both well, so you just have to try and kind of perfect it and implement it in your own games. Just carry around a pink ward, and you can do both at the same time.
I mean, I guess if you had to say which was harder or easier, you could say it's easier to get vision because everybody spawns with a yellow trinket by default, so you could press 4 and like bam, you got vision. But which is more important?
Well, I kind of think this question is. I got this question off of our summoner school many months ago. Probably a month ago, but still. And I don't think I ever read the responses. I just got the question. I thought, oh, that's a good question. Let's talk about it. And now that we have it here and we have, I've heard you guys' responses, it kind of makes me laugh because at first I thought the whole thing would be like, all right, well, we can talk about warding here and putting this out there and putting that out there. But the more I think about bronze and how vision works and watching the players play, I don't think vision is really what turns the bronze games around at any point in time. Denying vision or keeping vision or really doing that is not going to win or lose you a game in bronze. Really what's going to win or lose you the game in bronze is how you play out the first 5 to 10 minutes of that game. And watching the players that really are trying to dissect everything but their own play through asking these questions is, in and of itself the problem with the bronze mentality, because it goes from, all right, well, I know that I have to work on vision and I know I should really deny vision, but I don't go back and look at the log that is sticking out of my eye, which is not using my bushes properly in top lane or bottom lane, or it's not being in the right place at the right time or understanding how to push out waves. I got really annoyed yesterday when I was playing a game because I had an AD carry who didn't understand wave management. They didn't understand that they didn't need to keep pushing the enemy under the tower. By pushing the enemy under the tower, we're actually losing the game, even though it makes it look like we're winning. Because as Pyke, I'm not able to do my job. I'm not able to get in there. I'm not able to pull you in. I'm not able to set up big kills. You are effectively making me worthless. So I left the lane and went to other places and tried to help out there. And then I get bitched at and called, and how it is for doing that. And I don't have time to type in the game how wrong you are and why you're wrong. I don't have 30 minutes to do it. But I think that's really what it comes down to is we're not talking about vision anymore. We're talking about how you're playing this game and what you're actually doing and what other consequences your actions have.
I mean, my honest opinion of bronze as a league is just that, like, I've seen a lot of bronze players, and what sticks out the most is the mechanics, like just the raw input, everything from farming to just using abilities efficiently and not canceling auto attacks, movement, dodging skill shots, like just everything from a mechanical point of view. I feel like is what needs the most work in bronze, because those mechanics alone get you to could potentially so many divisions higher than bronze. So I don't really think game knowledge or macro or even vision or really any of that stuff really matters too much in bronze. I think you just have to perform well mechanically. Yes. And if you can do that, you will beat your opponents.
If we're gonna stick, I agree with you that mechanics and winning lane is probably the most important thing to climb out of bronze. But if we're sticking with the whole vision theme, I'm gonna take a side. I think getting vision is probably more important, because the more vision you have down on the map, the more opportunity you're gonna have to see your opponent, and you can practice the skills that will help you when you're at a higher level. Because if you have vision everywhere, it'll help you pay attention to your mini map. Because that's the biggest thing. It's not necessarily getting the vision; it's being able to pay attention to the vision that you do have and be aware of what comes into vision and goes out of vision, so you can then react accordingly. So I think if you have more vision, it'll give you more of an opportunity and more leeway to learn those skills and be able to pay attention to those things that might either save you from getting killed or maybe show you an opportunity where you can go get a kill yourself. So I think if you get vision, it'll just give you more of an opportunity to learn and grow rather than just denying it, and both teams are in the dark in that way.
You know what? I think the vision you should be getting, bronze and silver, is the vision that is the closest to you. It should be the opposite lane brush. You shouldn't be warding river anymore, bot lane or top lane. You should be warding one of the lane brushes instead, because the likelihood of you watching one of those brushes is really low. I don't think you ever watch them. I don't care if you ward it. I don't think you ever watch it, right? You can't convince me you do. Unless I'm sitting there watching your eyeballs. I'm sorry, you just can't. But you can convince me that you would watch the lane brush and watch the enemy support or top lane walk in and out of it, assuming they use it. And if I'm taking a stance, getting vision in your immediate area is more important anywhere than it is denying that vision. Because being able to see where the enemy is and be able to hit them at any time is super important to learning how to abuse mechanics that you may pick up over time. If you're playing
with like lock screen and you never look at your mini map, then putting a deep ward is going to do nothing for you. So I agree. If you can try and take as much of the fog of war off of the area directly around your character, it's going to be a lot more helpful than trying to get like deep vision or even in the ward, as you were saying, in the river, as you were saying.
Don't get me wrong. I want these people to go start warding and looking at the map and whatnot, but really, it comes down to let's play what's around us. Let's build the foundation around us, and then start to let the circle radiate from there. So, excuse me. I think that's. Do we want to answer any of these listener questions? Do we want to?
Do I want to? No, not really. If I'm being totally honest.
Not that we don't love you, listeners. Actually, what I want to do, to be honest with you, if you're listening, people are still out here, I want you to send us more listener questions so what I can do next week or the week after when I bring new people in the show is I can plaster them with listener questions. Just these random questions you guys send that are awesome. I love them. Just plaster us with listener questions, guys. I want anyone from bronze to fucking diamond 1 or higher to just plaster us. Feedback at trinityforcepodcast.com. Let's fill this document up. I don't care how mundane or small or stupid your question you think it might be. Send it to us because I'm going to put it in this document. I'm going to use it when we bring the new people in. I'm going to make them answer them all. So if you have a question and that you sent us 2-3 weeks ago that still hasn't been answered, it's going to get answered in the next couple of weeks, I promise. How's that? How's that?
We only have 3. That's the reason I'm opposed to it. Like, let's let them build up just a little bit, you know. But
he
that's
doesn't
a
want
good
to answer
plan.
them because he doesn't want to talk about Wukong or Kane or
None of them are related to Garen or the event coming up, so
You made me sound like a super dick, so I have to backpedal now.
I didn't mean to make you sound like a dick. I was just trying to take your comment and turn it into something that was like along the lines of what you were talking about.
I was just trying to be like dry and funny, and then I ended up just being an asshole.
It's okay.
the danger you run.
For
there's
real.
gonna be another post on the subreddit about how not to treat your coworkers.
Not
Oh yeah, I got complained about not that long ago, right? For not paying attention. I got called out like twice or whatever.
I got called
Yeah.
out for calling you out.
Yeah, you got called out for calling me out.
It's all fun and games. We're all good friends here, so we all know it. I'm gonna leave it there. Like I said, it was about a 50-minute episode or so. It wasn't that long. We'll be back this Wednesday with patch notes. Should be hopefully the 3 of us again. If not, I'm gonna find some random people to bring in. Did Dom say he's gonna be here? Oh wait, no, you're not here, right?
I will not be here on this Wednesday.
Well, hey, it might be a Vrail Adams show unless Dom comes around. It's all right. We can make the 2-man patch note show work.
Let's make it happen. I'll solo patch notes. I can make it.
I can do it. I've
I can
thought
make
about
it
it.
work.
You know how many times I've never had to do a solo show, but there's been times I've thought about it. I think I could.
I feel like if you were to do a solo show, patch notes is probably the easiest way to go about that.
That's cheating.
Yeah, you have your document right there in front of you. It's super easy. Give your opinions about everything, not rushed along
Opinions.
as Adam likes to do with the patch notes.
I don't rush this along. I make sure every time we do patch notes, I make sure we end about an hour and 1 minute, because what would happen is we would go an hour and a half, and I'm not ready to sit here for an hour and a half and talk about patch notes. I don't know about you guys.
Fair enough.
I mean, it just depends on the patch notes. I mean, how many buffs did Garen get? I mean, I talk about it for a little while.
No, we can the next time Garen gets a buff.
Camille
I will
nerf
give you-
incoming.
Yeah, right. Where's Punch? He's
Yeah,
real
where's
upset with
Punch?
this stuff.
Punch my man, Dom. Yeah, we need to do a revival episode. Get the reunion going.
I'll try to get everybody around one day. All right, guys, that's it. We're gonna call it there at the end. So that's episode 545 of the Trinity Force podcast. Don't forget to get those MP3s into me, 5 minutes or less, and that's it, guys. Thank you so much for listening to the Trinity Force podcast, and we will see you all next week. Peace.
Later.
See you later, guys.